Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Much appreciated. As you can see, I'm on my laptop trying to figure out what are the best bets for Super Bowl 60. But we're going to jump on these early odds right now because I feel like in preparation for the next 2 weeks, you guys need to put together what's going to be the best parlays for you guys, right? The best player props that you want to take, and also who's going to win and why, and what are the best odds out there. Well, anyway, we're going to jump on the early lines, all right? But before we even get started for Super Bowl 60 between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks, congratulations to both. We're going to have to figure out exactly why we're going to roll one way with one team. And I got to tell you, folks, the money's going to be going on to. I gotta admit, from my perspective, I like one team in this Super Bowl. But for the public out there, there's going to be probably money rolling on both sides. So Vegas right now has a -4.5 to favor the Seattle Seahawks. So I've pretty much put together what I feel are projected numbers as well as what would be like a good parlay for you guys out there. Okay. Also, remember, these are what I feel might be the best bets for you guys. Bet small and win big. I give you this edge for free. As you can see, I've been working hard since the championship games have been done with and whatnot. Anyway, let's get going. And to begin right now, I'm going to money line the Seattle Seahawks. Okay. Sorry, New England fans, but that's the way I'm going to roll. And the reason I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks, okay, look, let's be realistic, New England fans, okay? And that's been a fantastic season you guys put together. First year coach Mike Vrabel really did a heck of a job of getting you guys to where you need to go. I feel like the Patriots are well disciplined, well coached. And I also feel that they did have one of the easiest schedules. Someone threw out a stat for me, when I was looking it up. And I forgot who it was, but they said they had the third easiest schedule since 1970. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. However, they didn't make the schedule. They played the teams that were in front of them, and they actually beat the teams that needed to get beaten to get to where they're at, right? Okay, so I give you credit for that, Patriots fans. But here's the thing you need to know. You beat a backup quarterback in a championship game. They made mistakes. Okay, the Denver Broncos made mistakes in that championship game. I don't care about the weather. Let's talk about the facts, right? Now, before they got to the championship game, they beat a very solid defensive unit in the Houston Texans. The Patriots did get an interception return by Marcus Jones. Now, the three teams they beat to get to the Super Bowl: Los Angeles Chargers, Houston Texans, and the Denver Broncos. What did they all have in common? They were in the top 10 with defense. Okay, these teams had no business losing to the New England Patriots. But what was the main factor in all three games? The Chargers already fired their offensive coordinator. They had no offense. Okay, that's a tribute to Mike Vrabel getting his team prepared for the Los Angeles Chargers. Give him credit for that. Against the Houston Texans, there were lots of turnovers, and yet they came out winners. CJ Stroud, bad performance by their quarterback. They made a lot of turnovers. They were basically without their best receiver, Nico Collins, as well. Yet the Texans kept them around. An interception returned by Marcus Jones of the Patriots. Okay, so now let's get to the championship game. That 4th-and-1 that Sean Payton decided to go, not make it, instead of kicking a field goal. Maybe, just maybe, this game has a different ending. But they did play a backup quarterback. And the Broncos receivers, wow, I've never seen so many drops by Cortland Sutton. And so many drops by those Broncos receivers. And Jarrett Stidham, the one thing he couldn't do was turn the ball over, and he made that big mistake. credit the Patriots defense for playing well all throughout the playoffs. So yes, the Patriots did play solid defense and surprisingly against good competition. However, again, those factors, why I'm moneylining the Seahawks. Look at the Seahawks run. Tougher schedule, better defense, blew out the 49ers in the playoffs like I expected. They took care of business. They made mistakes in the championship game as well, but yet managed to pull out victory. Although they gave up a ton of yards, which I knew what was going to happen because I knew that Matt Stafford had their number all year. Of all the teams this year against Seattle, the Rams had their number. But the Seahawks prevailed because of one X factor, and that was Sam Darnold, who played the game of his life and proved all the skeptics, including me, that he could get his team to the Super Bowl. So congratulations on that. And this is why I'm rolling with the Seattle Seahawks on Super Bowl 60. The over and under of 46.5. Well, I think it is going to be over 46.5. I think the NFL is expecting probably a tighter game, like 27-23. Maybe I'm expecting that. I don't know. But let me just throw in a couple of things. The reason I chose over 46.5, because if this game gets out of hand in the third quarter, like most great teams do against overachieving teams like the Patriots, I feel the Patriots don't belong in the Super Bowl. I think they overshot their projection, right? Patriots fans, let's be real. You do have a fantastic quarterback in Drake May, but how did he play during the playoffs? It was kind of shaky, right? Had an MVP year, but throughout the playoffs was not impressive. Although he did manage to get that first down on that beautiful rollout where, according to reporters, he called his own play on that. Yeah. But he did roll out. I actually called that play before it happened. No bragging rights here, but I actually said the best thing to do on that fourth down was to roll out Drake May, was to roll him out, because he would have had an option either to throw or run, and that ended up being the game winner, right? But he did not have an impressive playoffs. Had a fantastic regular season. I believe he's up for MVP awards. Okay. But I feel that over 46.5 is correct. I think it's going to do two things. It's going to cover the NFL better, the amateur sports better that's out there, for two reasons. If this turns out to be a blowout, most of the points will come from the Seahawks. And then you might have a catch-up situation with the Patriots, getting, what I hate? When you do take a spread or an over and under, and then at the last second, the team that's losing covers it or destroys your over and under or your spread because they got a last second touchdown just to make the score look closer than what it was. That's why I want to protect myself. So I'm going to take that over 46.5. And I just feel that Seattle, with their defense, and they do have weapons on offense, and the way Sam Darnold's playing, I understand the Patriots play solid defense, and I think Mike Vrabel will prepare his team very well, but I just don't see them losing to the Patriots. I really don't. I'm sorry, Patriots fans, but let's be realistic. You had a great season. You're in the Super Bowl. It should have been a rebuilding year. Before the season began, people had the Patriots at 7 to 9 wins. You guys managed 14 and then beat 3 defensive teams in the playoffs. And I know you guys are going to say, well, that's the point. They're playing another great defense. Maybe they'll get by them. No. I think Seattle is on a mission to annihilate the next opponent, just like they did the 49ers. I feel like the Super Bowl might be a blowout. And so what's important here is to understand that that's why we're going to try to take some bets here to make you some money and make that game entertaining for you, because I don't think it's going to be close. I just feel, that's just my feeling. Obviously, Patriots fans are going to probably shut me down or whatever. As far as the spread -4.5, that's correct. I think if the Patriots stay close, you know, you might look at a. I'm just saying, it could be a game where it's like 35 to 21 type of scenario, right? Maybe the Seahawks are winning 35 or 14, and then the Patriots get a last second touchdown with like under 2 minutes left to make it 35-21. I feel like the Seahawks are going to put some numbers up there. The -4.5 is correct. They'll cover. And if they don't cover, okay, let me put it to you this way. You know why I feel good about these early odds of -4.5? And I will show you the whiteboard, is because I feel that that -4.5 does two things also. It's going to cover me because I feel like, well, if the Patriots keep it close and lose, that sounds about right. They'll lose by like 6. So -4.5, or let's say they lose by, I'm sorry, I said 6. What I really meant to say was, let's say they lose by 5, right? Like a score of 26. That's what I meant. 26-21. And something like that might be just perfect, right? And that over 46.5 sounds perfect too. So you got two things covered here, the over and the spread. If it's 26-21, that puts it at 47 points. And since you took the over, it's 46.5. And also, if you took the spread of -4.5 favoring the Seahawks, you covered. That's why I like these early odds. Guys, you got to jump on it. You can't let this spread get any higher, which I think it will. Okay? And you can't let the over and under go one more point. These are perfect. Start running to your local casinos and sports books and jump on your sports apps. Okay? Now, as far as what I think, who's going to be the MVP in this game, anyone could be the MVP. But the way Sam Darnold was playing, I feel like if he does what he needs to do, the way he's been playing throughout the playoffs, he's certain to be the MVP, right? They always give it to a quarterback, regardless if the defense plays well or somebody has. If a defensive player is going to win it, he's going to have to put up, 2 sacks, 3 interceptions, maybe a forced fumble, something that Rod Martin did back in 1980 Super Bowl between the Eagles and the Raiders. But I just think Sam Darnold would be the perfect guy to jump on and lay some odds on that of winning the MVP, maybe throw some money there. The projected MVP numbers, if he does win, I would take over 227 yards, maybe 228 yards. He'll probably have more than that. I'm looking at a 300-yard game, I think, but I'm going to play it safe and take the over of 227. I also think he'll throw maybe 2 touchdowns in this game. I really do. I know Christian Gonzalez is a great corner. I know Carlton Davis is another good corner and Super Bowl winning vet on the other side. But I just feel like Sam Darnold is playing very well, and it's showing, and I just think he'll come through this Sunday. And I think, to me, those would be one way of going with, if you want to parlay it, you could. Give me a second. I'm going to show you the whiteboard real quick. Copy it down if you feel comfortable with that pick. Hold on. And those are my Super Bowl 60 best bets. If you want to parlay that, that's fine. Okay, so you can see the money line on the Seahawks, the over and under 46.5, and the spread of -4.5. I just feel very confident with that. Okay, guys, you saw my whiteboard I put up there, right? Okay, that could be one way of going with this game. Okay, and putting good best bets for Super Bowl 60. If you're going to be putting money on the Seattle Seahawks, that's one way I would roll. Okay, that's one way I would roll. Again, it's just me. I'm feeling very confident about the Seattle Seahawks. I just feel that, the way it's playing out, it's like this revenge, right? Hey, Patriots stole that Super Bowl from us years ago when Marshawn Lynch never got that touchdown, and the Seahawks decided to throw the ball and got picked off, and the game ended in the worst way possible for Seattle fans. Well, now I think that's going to factor into the Super Bowl. You don't think that coach is going to give that speech before the game and say, let's right or wrong? Let's give that Super Bowl back to the fans of Seattle. Let's remind the Patriots how they stole that Super Bowl from us because of a bad play call. Well, let's give the Seattle fans back that Super Bowl. That's just how I feel. I just feel like there's a lot of that's going to happen in that locker room. Those guys are going to get fired up. I really don't believe this Super Bowl is going to be close at all. And if it is, congratulations to the Patriots for making it close. But I just feel that Seattle Seahawks are really going to annihilate those New England Patriots. All right. Now, with that said, we already got the money line, the over and under. We got the spread. I already told you who the MVP might be, okay, and Sam Darnold. And now we got to look at player props, right? Now, Sam Darnold, to me, I would take the over of 227 yards and a half. If you see that type of player prop, I'm going with the over. I think he's capable of doing 300 yards in the Super Bowl. I'm just saying. Then you have, the touchdowns. You got JSN, you got AJ Barner, you got Cooper Kupp. I believe Cooper Kupp's going to get in the end zone. JSN is capable, but I think he's going to get locked down with Christian Gonzalez. Locked down to the point where Gonzalez might be the one guy that can do it, but I'm not saying he's not going to get yards. So look for JSN to maybe get a touchdown. Cooper Kupp's available for that. This is why I'm going to take Sam Darnold. We're talking Sam Darnold here with the player prop. Take him for over 227 and a half yards. Take him for 1+ passing touchdowns. That's just being safe. What if he throws 2? At least you took him for 1+ passing touchdowns. And I think also with completions, right? And I'm looking at my notes because I was taking them, I was doing this edge for free for you guys. So I think he's going to have more than 20 completions in this game. I think the over and under is at 20 and a half. Let's take that, right? Let's take the over on the 20 and a half. Now let's go to the New England side with Drake May. Haven't been impressed with his playoff run. Hasn't played the way he's played during the season, MVP-wise. In all fairness, he's played against 3 of the toughest defenses in the league. So I know that's going to be on the Patriots' defense when they say to me, you don't know what you're talking about. Really? Well, there is a Super Bowl prop of over 225 and a half. The only reason I might take the over on that is because he might be playing from behind. If that running game does not do well against the Seattle defense, he's going to have to chuck it down. Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson are guys that could catch the ball out of the backfield. He might be picking up yards with that. Going downfield against that Seattle secondary, you're talking, that's a big task. One of the best secondaries in the league, although they didn't show it in the championship game, but you saw what they did to the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, and I feel like the 49ers receivers are much better than what the Patriots have. Okay, that's just me. Okay, and we could argue this all day long. But the reason I'm taking the over, I just think they're going to be playing from behind. There's going to be a lot of throwing in that third quarter, like towards the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter. Whether he's successful or not, I'm not sure. But when you only have one guy, Stephon Diggs, and then the rest are a bunch of guys that can surprise you, like Mac Hollins, Kayshon Boutte. I'm not really sold on those guys. I'm not sold on Kyle Williams. I'm not sold on Demario Douglas. Not against this secondary. I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a monster game if the Patriots are to either hang with them, but they're not winning. And then I'm going to take the over also. They got a prop there in Vegas where it's over 19 and a half. I think it sounds about right. I think he will be connecting on those little dump-off passes, maybe hitting over the middle against the linebackers with the running backs and the tight ends. I think Hunter Henry's going to have a big game. But sounds about right. We don't speak about the Seattle defense as much, but they could put pressure, especially against a rookie tackle like Will Campbell, I believe is his name. He struggled in the playoffs protecting Drake May, and I think it continues on. I think Seattle has that edge there on the defensive line against the Patriots O-line. So look for that. Now, let's talk about the receivers in this game who I feel, or Vegas feels, is going to have a big game. Right now, they got Jackson Smith-Njigba to be over or under 91.5 receiving yards. Sounds about right. But he is going to be going up against two good corners in Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis. They will try to take away those slant patterns. I don't think they're going to try to hit Christian Gonzalez deep, but they could probably figure out a way to hit those slant patterns. Now, how much of a factor that's going to play into Cooper Kupp having a big game on the other side, right? Or Rashid Shaheed. I think if I wanted to play it safe, if I could find a player prop that says Jackson Smith-Njigba, like about 80, 85 yards, sounds about right. But if I had to take an over and under of 91.5, I'm going to go with the under of 91.5. I might go with the under on that. They have him for 6.5 receptions. Again, you're going up against two elite corners in the NFL, in Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez. So, guys, don't forget that when you're betting, this is why I give you this edge for free. This is why I do all the homework. You got to understand why I rolled with props like this. 6.5, I think, is too much. I think to play it safe, somewhere around 4.5. So if you're building a parlay, you want to go with Jackson Smith at around 80, 85 yards, and then maybe 4.5 receptions. This is going to be a tough task against those two good corners. Now, for the Patriots, you have Stephon Diggs, and they got him somewhere around, and I'm trying to look at these notes, at 44.5. Oh, boy, I think I'm going to take the over of 44.5. He's going to have a monster game for Drake May. He's going to have to help this quarterback out. Again, wasn't impressed with the passing game throughout the playoffs, but this is where Stephon Diggs has to step up for Drake May. Over 44.5, I will take. 4.5 receptions sounds about right. I think he should be somewhere around 5 or 6 receptions in this game. So we're going to go with the over of 4.5. Okay, that's Seattle secondary. You're talking about Umanori, who's a big hitter at safety. You're talking about Devin Witherspoon. Okay, and I know people were mad at Tyreek Woolen, for jumping around and getting that flag. I just think the refs were wrong there. It's when you're in big games like this, you're going to get excited. So I think the refs were kind of wrong there, but he learned from it. I don't think he'll do it again. Excuse me. All right, let's move on to another Patriots receiver that I think should have a big Super Bowl. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I believe that if you're going to attack that Seattle defense, that's if you have time to throw. Because I do believe that D-line of the Seattle Seahawks, Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, those guys are going to be in the backfield. I can guarantee that. I think Hunter Henry should be over 37.5. I think if the linebackers play up towards the box to take away the run, which I feel that New England's going to try to do to help out Drake May, I just think that Hunter Henry is going to have a big game, just like the running backs coming out of the backfield. It's going to have a big game to offset those linebackers from playing in the box. I'm going to take the over of 37.5. I think that this guy's capable of having 50-plus yards in the Super Bowl. The 3.5 receptions, I'm going to go with the over. I think him and Stephon Diggs, they're going to have to be on point in this Super Bowl if they have a chance. All right, let's jump to another receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, who I think is probably the guy that, if New England rolls his way and says, you know what, they're expecting us to take away Jackson Smith, so we're going to have to roll the coverage to Cooper, then A.J. Barner is going to be a factor. But for Cooper Kupp's sake, I would play it safe, take the over of 30.5. He's been there before. He was an MVP in that Super Bowl, right? Um, let's take an over 30 and a half reception yards. And let's take definitely over 2.5 receptions. I think Cooper Cup's going to be a big factor in this game. Excuse me. But for some reason, Vegas got him at 30 and a half. This is why you got to jump on these early odds, guys. I mean, if you want to build your parlays in a certain way or you want to take player props, it's the best way to do it. I bet small to win big, so I'm building up my Super Bowl parlay. You guys may want to bet differently, put money down, playing big, to win big. That's on you. All right. And now we're going to look at the rest of the rest. Kayshon Boutte. Wow. They have him, same numbers as Cooper Kupp. Sounds about right. But I might go under with Kayshon Boutte. I might go under. 30 and a half. This is a guy that will get a pass downfield. And against the Seattle secondary, I don't think that's going to work well. I think he's better off running the in route, most like 15-yard routes, 10-yard routes might be his strength for Super Bowl 60. But if you want to take the over, you should feel safe about that. 2.5 receptions, I might go under if there is an under prop for that. Because when you see 2.5, Vegas is expecting you. If you take the over, he better catch 3. And he's not a guy that Drake May throws a lot to. He'll throw, once in a while he'll have a big game. I just don't think against the Seattle secondary it's going to happen. Mac Hollins is the guy that's, wow, this is a tough one to take. I would stay, okay, the way I would do it, I would stay away from Kayshon Boutte and Mac Hollins if you're building a parlay of receivers. Mac Hollins is a guy that when he comes into the game, this guy plays with heart. Reminds me a little bit of Puka Nacua, where if you're not paying attention to him, he's going to make plays. But if I had to pick player props, I stay away from these two guys, Kayshon Boutte and Mac Hollins. Although Mac Hollins is capable of getting in the end zone because this guy plays big. I mean, he's a tough receiver. They have him at 28 and a half. I might take the over in this game of 28 and a half. If you decide to go with Mac Hollins, take the over of 28 and a half. And I'm going to stay under of the 2.5 receptions. But honestly, my advice to amateur sports bettors, you may want to stay away from Kayshon and Mac Hollins. I'd rather you guys pick the main receivers like Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry. For Seattle fans, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Cooper Kupp, and A.J. Barner, who we're going to talk about now. I would take the over of 26 and a half. I think A.J. Barner is going to play a big part of the Seattle offense on Sunday. If the coverage takes away JSN and Cooper Kupp, then A.J. Barner is going to be open around that middle. Patriots linebackers are good, but one of them is always rushing the passer, right? Cleveon Chason, I believe is his name. And I think for us, I don't see Robert Spillane hanging in there with A.J. Barner, okay? Good tackling linebacker. He might be able to make those tackles, but we're going to take the over of 26 and a half here. And at 2.5 receptions, yeah, I'm going to take the over. I think he's going to catch about 3 or 4 this Sunday. I mean, on Super Bowl 60. Rashid Shaheed, I'm not going to take him as a receiver prop, but if there's a prop for special teams like returning yardage, it'll probably say punt and kick return like special teams prop. He's definitely worth a special teams prop, maybe over, because I know the Patriots are good with their special teams as well. And Marcus Jones is one hell of a punt returner and kick returner. So if we're going to talk punt returners, kick returners, I think both teams are going to try to stay away from these two guys. But if they do get the ball, what am I expecting? Maybe return yardage between punt returns and kick returns together, somewhere around maybe 60 yards. But if I had to pick one to make an impact, it's going to be Rashid Shaheed. Okay, so That's how I would look at it. But I would not take this guy for a receiver prop. They do have him over 22 and a half. We did see that one big play to start the championship game. And that's how I look at it. I mean, am I expecting that performance over? If you think he's good for over to pick as a receiver, then go with the over of 22 and a half. On one play alone in that championship game, he was, what was that, 69-yard pass that he caught? As far as receptions, they got this guy for 1.5 receptions. You're asking him to do what? 2 catches for the Super Bowl? Maybe you want to do that. All right. As we continue on, Kenneth Walker out of the backfield. I think that prop is a bit too high. They got him over 20 and a half. Right. We're going to talk about alternate receiving and rushing yards later. But I just think if you're going to take receivers only, you should not include the running backs. You should include that on a prop that will combine receiving and rushing yards together just to feel safe. You never want to say that he's going to catch over 20 and a half yards, right? I mean, he's capable. He's a fantastic receiver out of the backfield, but then that could ruin your parlay. That could also ruin what you expect to get from rushing. Maybe this Super Bowl they're going to use him as more of a receiver. Again, go with your hunch. I would not touch this prop. It also has him at 2.5. I would not touch 2.5 receiving props. So I would skip that. That's just me. I don't know how you guys feel. Same thing goes with Ramondre Stevenson. They got him with the same type of props for the Patriots. I would not touch this. Demario Douglas is one receiver that they have at 11.5. I'm going to take Demario Douglas definitely to get over 11.5. But would I take him as a parlay prop? No, I would stay away. Definitely take the over 1.5. I think Demario is good for 2 catches to Super Bowl. But again, I'm going to stay away from that prop. Same thing with Austin Hooper. This is a guy, when you get in the red zone, can get in the end zone. He's proven that. 9.5, I would stay away. But if I had to take him, it would be over 9.5 yards. I mean, come on. And then you got him for 1.5 receptions. Again, they're expecting him to catch 2 passes. I stay away from these guys. So the main guys I'm going to roll with is JSN, Stephon Diggs, JSN, obviously, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, Cooper Kupp. Stay with those receivers along with A.J. Barner. Okay, stay with those receivers for your Super Bowl best bets. Do not go into any other receiver. I know that the prop will pay will pay higher, but I just don't see that you should go with any other receiver. There are surprises. Super Bowls brings the surprises. Let me just take a sip. Oh man, water's ice cold. But listen, do the right thing here. This is why I do your homework for you. And then obviously we're going to go to the rushing yardage. But instead of going for the rushing yardage, what I want you guys to understand is that every time you see that prop pop up in Vegas or whatever, your sports books or your sports apps, there's something that's called alternate receiving yards as well as rushing yards. Like they combine it. And then instead of you saying, oh, he's going to rush for 77 yards, you could combine it and say that he's going to get 77 yards. So it's going to cover you on the running side and it's going to cover you on the receiving side. I know you guys are smart like that. I know that as amateur sports bettors, we're looking for this edge. And there's one edge that I see right there. Right now, Kenneth Walker, the over and under is at 77.5, and he's supposed to get 18.5 attempts. Now, if you want to go with a rushing prop, I look at that as very high. Okay, I know in Super Bowls anything can happen, but the Patriots are stout on defense. All right, I feel like they're going to try to take away Kenneth Walker, and they're going to do everything possible to try to make Sam Darnold beat them, which he will. But they're going to try to take the one factor away. And Seattle's got a great rushing offense. Their linemen against the Patriots linemen, that's going to be a good battle. But when I look at that rushing 77 and a half and the attempts of carries he's going to get 18 and a half, I'm going to stay away. What I am going to do is I'm going to do the alternate rushing and receiving yards, and I'm going to stick with that 77 and a half if that prop is still there. You might see it on your sports app, and it's going to look like that. It's going to say alternate rushing and receiving yards. So they're going to combine it, and then you just got to pick the yardage of the combination of both. So if he gets like 20 yards receiving and 50 yards rushing or 57 yards rushing, then that's a fantastic prop that you take. So let's stay away from the rushing props. George Holani, not Zach Charbonnet. If Zach Charbonnet was here, there'd be a whole different way of looking at this. But George Holani, I stay away from that prop. I'm not interested in it. If you decide to, hey, I want to take the guy, then put him over 7.5. But you want, again, most of these odds, early odds that Vegas is throwing out there, I stay away from any other prop than the major guys that are going to handle the football. You got Ramondre Stevenson of the Patriots. They got him for over under 55 and a half. And they also got him to touch the ball or rush the ball with 15 and a half carries. Well, he's been a big factor throughout the playoffs for the Patriots, right? He's been getting the bulk of the carries, which is kind of weird, right? When you saw the whole season play out, you saw Travion Henderson get big games, have big games throughout the season. And they sort of got away from that. It's almost like they were kind of tripping up their opponents by saying, well, we used Travion all through the season. He's been our big X factor, and now we get into the playoffs. We're not even going to bother with the guy. Just every now and then he'll come in the game. It's not, it's not bad strategy, but I just feel like they got away from this guy. For Ramondre, they got him at 55 and a half and to touch the ball 15 and a half rushing. Again, go to alternate rushing and receiving yards and do 60 plus on Ramondre Stevenson. I feel like him and Travion Henderson are going to be a big factor in the Super Bowl for Drake May to helping him out. So stick with Ramondre Stevenson. Okay, 60 plus, alternate receiving and rushing. Okay, I got my notes in front of me. And then we're going to go with Travion Henderson. They got him for 16 and a half. I just feel like the Patriots are going to try to trip up the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will be ready. They're expecting anything. That's what good defenses do. We understand that your main guy is Ramondre, but he does fumble a lot. But Travion's been the guy that when you put him in a game, he's more explosive, can come out of the backfield. He has the speed to get downfield. I would go with the over of 16 and a half yards. But if I had to combine, I'm going to say 30 plus for Travion Henderson. So let's go over that. Now the quarterbacks. Okay, the quarterbacks, rushing-wise, these guys can run. They got legs. Sam Darnold's capable of getting out of the pocket and running. I just don't think this will happen for him in the Super Bowl. And if it does, it's only because the Patriots are concerned about Kenneth Walker and A.J. Barner. And they're going to be aware of that. And I'm pretty sure Mike Vrabel's going to preach that all week. We have to take away their receivers and put full concentration on those inside routes, those backs coming out of the backfield. But I feel like because you have Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis covering receivers, and the linebackers taking out those Kenneth Walker and the A.J. Barners, then Sam Darnold might have some room to run. They got him for 6.5 yards rushing. I'm going to go over that. Drake May, they got him for 15 yards over and under. I'm going to go over. I think he's going to be running for his life in the Super Bowl. Just think that Seattle's going to be all over him. And then you got that 4.5, right? They got him like, you know what? With these rushing props, guys, can I give you some advice? Get away from that. Go to alternate rushing and receiving yards and alternate rushing and passing yards for both these quarterbacks. Because what you're doing is combining their rushing yards along with their passing yards. So when I say to you, as an example, I'm expecting Sam Darnold 225 yards, a touchdown, stuff like that. Remember, you're combining their rushing yardage with that. So if he's only thrown for 199 yards, and throughout the game ran for 30 yards, you won that prop, that passing prop, as long as he threw those touchdowns that I wanted. Same thing goes with Drake May. If I have him under 200 yards or whatever, and you got that rushing prop and you want to take it, you combine it. Stay away from single props when it comes to rushing. I believe you have to combine the receiving and rushing. Okay. Um, Let me pause. I'm gonna put the whiteboard up for best parlay for Super Bowl 60. Now, there are different ways of going with parlays, but let me post this one up. When you see the whiteboard, you're gonna notice that, hey, where's the receiving ones? I'll probably write them up right after I put up this whiteboard. Okay, so watch this, and then we'll put down the receiving yards. Okay, hold on. All right, guys, there you go. You can see the best parlays for Super Bowl 60. The one thing you're going to notice is that the receivers are not on there, but I'm going to post that up as soon as I finish showing you this. All right. Those are what I feel could be good parlay props for you guys for the Super Bowl. Okay. And because we're jumping on the early odds and what they're giving us, this is what I do. I put this together because that's what they're giving us. I'm running to the sports app, to my local casino and sports book, and I'm throwing down money. I think these are good bets for Super Bowl 60. And let me post up the receiving yardage. As you can see, guys, I'm trying to put this whiteboard together for you guys. Got to do a couple of minor adjustments because I want to make sure when you guys look at these props that you're taking these guys for what I feel is projection. Okay. I know that Vegas is going to give you different odds because they want you to throw the money that way, but I'm going to give you better odds. So let's take JSN, right? 4.5. Okay. Okay, that should be 4.5 there. Trying to figure, there I go. All right, 4.5 receptions. Okay, Stephon Diggs, they got him at 3.5. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. Okay, 3.5 there. Okay, Hunter Henry, I just feel like this is a guy that supposedly can get downfield, 3.5 also. I think I'm going to change that Stephon Diggs to 4.5. Okay, just feel like he's going to be a big part of the passing game for Drake May. He's going to have to be for the Super Bowl. And Cooper Kupp, I really love this play prop that Vegas threw out there for 2.5. Oh my God, that's an easy one. And remember, I'm only going to throw here the players I feel are the main guys. Obviously, AJ Barner, wow, 6.5. Yeah, we're going to get 2.5. All right, guys, let me pause this real second so I can put the whiteboard up. Okay, guys, that's my whiteboard for the best parlays for Super Bowl 60. These are other player props that I feel are definitely worth taking. That's why I put the red asterisk next to it. So you guys can copy it down. I hope I showed those whiteboards enough for you guys to, enough time for you guys to copy it down. Well, guys, there you have some of what I feel is going to be the best parlays for Super Bowl 60. Now, you're going to see a lot of player props popping up for the next 2 weeks. This is why I jumped on this very early because I want you guys to realize you're going to be going up to your local sports books, local casinos, and sports books on that day, maybe take in the Super Bowl that day at the local casino. And you're probably gonna be looking for player props and weird ones at that, like longest national anthem. I don't deal with that. Um, Special teams, you know, punt return, kickoff return yardage. Maybe that's something I might look into. It could give you a plus on it. Could really up your parlay or your player prop. I wouldn't do it. Again, I showed you the guys that I would stay with. Stay with the main guys for these Super Bowls. Because this way your concentration is really good on who you're going to pick, who's going to do well and whatnot. Um, I like to think that when you're putting together your player prop, your parlay, whatever for Super Bowl 60, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not going to do parlays. I'm just going to bet $100 on a player to do this and that. Well, then go with Sam Darnold. I'm telling you, if I know there's a lot of New England fans out there that probably think they're going to win this Super Bowl. And listen, guys, you saw the season. All right, any football fan will tell you. I know that there were certain teams that didn't make the playoffs. There were certain teams that made the playoffs that made you think, how? Like the 49ers, the Bears. How did Detroit not make it? You got to remember when you're watching this season and the strange things that were happening throughout. Does it surprise you that these two teams are in the Super Bowl? You got one guy trying to prove the whole world that, yeah, I was once a number one draft pick. Remember Jim Plunkett? I know you guys may not go as far back as I would. But remember Jim Plunkett, number one draft pick for the Patriots? What happened to him? Bounced around the league, 49ers and all of that. Then when he finally got to the Raiders, played like a number one draft pick. Played like he's been to the big dance, won 2 Super Bowls. I see a lot of that in Sam Darnold. If I had to compare a quarterback from back in the day to Sam Darnold, to Jim Plunkett, and I see that in Sam Darnold. So if you want to pick a player prop, you want to go over 250 plus yards for the guy, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, I'm rolling with MVP. Yeah, I'm rolling with Sam Darnold, putting down some money and change on that. Drake May, fantastic season. Again, soft schedule. Goes into the playoffs, was not impressive, but still managed the game well enough to win. He's going to need more than game managing in this game. And yes, people, he was managing those games because he was playing against some top defenses in the league. Chargers, good defense. Texans, right behind the Denver Broncos as the best defense in the AFC, and then the Broncos defense. But the Broncos had no business losing. I really believe if Bo Nix was in that game, Denver would be in the Super Bowl. I was hoping for that Super Bowl, but we ended up with the Patriots. And it's only because they played against a backup quarterback. And yet again, I can honestly tell you, this is why I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks. I'm money lining the Seahawks. So if you go with a parlay, money line the Seahawks, right? And then start building your parlay. Who's going to get in the end zone on Super Bowl Sunday? I like Jackson Smith-Njigba. More importantly, I like Kenneth Walker. I like those matchups between the Patriots linebackers and A.J. Barner and Kenneth Walker. I really like that matchup. I feel like Seattle has an edge there. The only reason I chose Jackson Smith-Njigba could be a late prop for me. Could be a guy that, the Patriots might be getting blown out in the fourth quarter. And then guys like Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis are trying their best to take away the underneath. And then he just sneaks out like he did against the Rams, sneaks out for a touchdown. Okay. But if I had to pick touchdowns in this game from any receiving unit, whether it's the Patriots or the Seahawks, I'm going to go with Hunter Henry and Cooper Kupp. Those 2 guys and A.J. Barner. Those 3 guys I feel can get in the end zone. For Diggs and JSN, they're going to be going up against stiff competition in that secondary. You see, guys, when you look at this game, what bothers me is that you got one team that overachieved in a way. I think the Patriots are still 2 years away from being solid Super Bowl contenders. And with that said, they're here. But you have to see the path they took. Backup quarterback in the championship game, their opponents, right? Yeah, CJ Stroud, one of the worst games at quarterback. You had Justin Herbert, just couldn't get anybody. I mean, he was under duress. There was no running game for the Chargers. And then you look at the path that the Seahawks. If you're going to be that team, what do? You take care of business. They blew out the 49ers, who had no business being in the playoffs. Great job by Kyle Shanahan and coaching. Then they took on a team that pretty much had their number all year, the Rams, and took care of business. Was it a great game on the Seahawks' part? No, but who the hell is going to stop the Los Angeles Rams? I really had the Rams to win the whole thing. And yet Seattle beat them. And this is why I think, yet again, this is my personal way of looking at this game. Seattle's just going to be too much for New England. They're going to find out real early in this game if they belong on the same field. I think New England could try to keep this game close, but they're going to have to hope that Trevion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, and maybe Hunter Henry can do what they can to keep, and Drake May's legs can do what they can to keep this game close. I just don't see it. Defensively for the Patriots, with all the weapons that the Seahawks have, and the Patriots have a good, solid secondary, I just think the safety situation there might open up the door for inside slant patterns by Cooper Kupp, A.J. Barnett, Jake Bobo. We haven't even talked about him. And I just feel like it's going to be a bit too much for the New England Patriots to hang in there with the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to avenge that Super Bowl that they lost to the Patriots. I don't think the Seahawks are coming in here to play a tight game. I think the Seahawks want to let the world know we were the best team this year. I always thought the teams in the NFC were stronger anyway. Okay, so guys, if you feel different, and I know, and listen, careful with how Vegas is throwing out those props, those odds and everything, because like I said, you might see some money rolling Seahawks way. You might also see that spread go either a little higher. I don't think it's going to get lower. I think they're going to try to make the Seahawks 6-point favorites. But it's at -4.5. That's why you got to jump on it. And I think the over 46.5 is going to climb to 47 or 48. That's why I like the over 46.5. So I showed you the whiteboards. I hope you guys copied it down. And I feel these are the best bets for Super Bowl 60. All those other crazy bets like a fan running on a field, longest national anthem or whatnot, please stay away from those props. I always say, if you want to entertain yourself, leave those props for people that don't understand the game or don't truly. I mean, if you want to throw away your money, go right ahead. And if you happen to win on a prop like that, congratulations. Me personally, I just don't find those props attractive. What I do find attractive is, as an amateur sports bettor who gives you an edge for free, I've been doing it all season long. I'm trying to give you the best way to have fun Super Bowl Sunday and win yourself money. And I feel like my player props, my best parlays, and all of that we've talked about. MVPs. Who's going to get sacks in this game? DeMarcus Lawrence, Leonard Williams, maybe Leonard. I don't know, but he plays the run very well. Look for the interior line. Look for whoever's lining up against Will Campbell. Will Campbell being a rookie, he struggled throughout the playoffs. Whoever's lining up against Will Campbell definitely will get a sack. Okay. Let me see. Interceptions. Maybe Christian Gonzalez or Carlton Davis can get one. If I had to go to the Seattle secondary, look for maybe Umanori. I think he's going to play a big part in this Super Bowl. He is a rookie, so watch for him the way he plays. Maybe Witherspoon. Right, you're going to see props like that. Fun props, I call them. that you could jump on. But again, I'm giving you this edge for free. I'm just rolling with the guys that got them there. Um, again, I feel Seattle's going to win. I feel like Sam Darnold's going to be an MVP. If I had a dark horse MVP, a dark horse, yikes, oof, could be Kenneth Walker. If Kenneth Walker can get through that Patriots defense like he's been doing throughout the playoffs against the Rams and 49ers, if he continues running the way he's doing, if he continues to be the main back since Zach Charbonnet's been injured, or out for the year, I should say, then look for Kenneth Walker to have a big game. I'm expecting him to get in the end zone. I'm expecting him to have maybe 60-plus rushing yards, maybe 15-plus receiving, putting him around 77 yards. That's why I said you got to combine the alternate receiving and rushing yards with these running backs, as well as the alternate rushing and passing yards with the quarterbacks. You never want to take a prop that says how many rushing yards a quarterback's going to have or a running back's going to have. Because to be quite honest, if he doesn't get to those numbers, you lose that parlay. But by putting alternate receiving and rushing combined, sometimes you get that at your sports app of your choice. Then you may want to do that. But those are the best parlays I'm giving you guys. And this is going to be up for the next, hopefully, next few days before the Super Bowl, right? What do we have? Today is Wednesday. So you guys will have this up for about 9 or 10 days. And I hope you guys jump on this. Keep rewinding. Keep looking at what I'm telling you. And I believe you guys are going to be winners on Super Bowl Sunday as well as me. Again, I know I'm pissing off Patriots fans. I'm not saying that you guys don't have a chance. You do have a chance. But it's going to have to be the best games of your lives. Each quarterback is capable of mistakes and having a bad game. We certainly have seen Sam Darnold go through that. We certainly have seen throughout these playoffs Drake May not play his best. But I just feel that the edge is at right now on defense with Seattle, their D-line, their linebackers, and their secondary is just better than the New England Patriots. I'm not saying that the Patriots aren't capable of doing the same damage on defense as Seattle's defense. They are a good defense. But I just think that Seattle overall, with the players they have, is a much better unit. Offensive line, Rams against that wall of the Patriots. Excuse me, I said Rams. I meant Seahawks. Sorry about that, folks. I just think that unit of the Seahawks against that Patriots front line, kind of, if there's an even part of it, I could say it's about even, right? But I just think that the Seahawks offensive line is just getting it done lately, right? They're rolling over people. But I think the Patriots could find ways to make fits, make it, harder for the Seahawks. But I just think Seahawks rushing game is going to do far better than the Patriots. I think the front line of the Seahawks defensively against the O-line of the Patriots, the edge goes to the Seahawks. I think Will Campbell's going to struggle. They did have a couple of injuries on that Patriots line. Linebackers, Ernest Jones on the Seahawks, really playing out of his mind right now. And, really, Robert Spillane. Cleveland Chason is probably going to be more of rushing the passer than setting back. And I think if the Patriots try to play eight in the box, it's just going to create havoc down the middle of the field. I don't think the Patriots are going to cover those tight ends and running backs as well as the Rams or even the 49ers, for that matter. I just don't see the Seahawks losing. Guys, that's just me. I try to find the edge. And right now, Sam Darnold's playing better than Drake May. Regardless if Drake May wins the MVP for the season, what has he shown in the playoffs? He's struggling, guys. I'm not saying it's all his fault. His O-line hasn't played better either. So this is why I'm rolling with what I'm rolling. Guys, hit that like and subscribe button and leave your comments below. Give me a like. I think this is going to wrap up everything about the Super Bowl, this upcoming Super Bowl, Super Bowl 60 between the Patriots and Seahawks. Congratulations to both. But this is the edge I'm giving you for free. Take notes, rewind if you have to, look back, look at the whiteboard. Hopefully it helps you. And let's bet more to win big, guys. Good luck this Super Bowl, and I'll see you next season.